Good afternoon, everybody. It's August 5th. It's Tuesday. You're watching the Stock Market Brief Show. We're going to talk about the current state of the S&P 500. We're going to go into market conditions, expected moves, the MAG7 stocks, and where they stand within their weekly implied moves here. And then we're going to go over about 10 stocks or so that are setting up in these current conditions that I want to get on the radars. We're going to start off here looking at the CTA's overall equity allocation. You can see we're in the 96th percentile. So you can see here that we're rather frothy. So CTAs are most likely going to start turning around and becoming sellers. In fact, I found this floating around the internet where it says the next week time horizon in a flat up or down tape, you are looking at sellers. And then for the next 1 month, you need an up tape for them to be buyers, but a flat tape, they can become sellers, and then down tape also become sellers as well. And you can see the kind of projections here as far as these expected flows go. If you take a look at the SPY on the 15-minute time frame, we did come into that 5-day moving average. As you can see, the last time we talked about that as a possibility to be aware of that 5-day moving average and its direction. It is declining. We tagged into it. It remained declining. We pushed away. We came back for it in today's price action and started pressing from it. So in this current context, what we are seeing is a high, a lower high, a lower high. You can even consider that a lower high. And then in the shorter term, you have a low and a higher low as it stands right now. So price action is contracting with a declining 5-day moving average. We have yet to tag the upper weekly implied move and or the lower implied move for the week there for the SPY. If I apply a week-to-date VWAP, we're kind of floating in and around that level. If I flow on a quarter-to-date volume-weighted average price, it's not loading right now for some reason, but that's totally fine. We are basically right in and around that. Now, if I also do a VWAP from the August low, which is also the start of August as well, you can see that we're kind of sitting on this right on that VWAP. So if we break down, just tells us that the average person based off of this time is then underwater, and that does open the door to come to this lower daily implied move going into tomorrow. So if you're patient, you want to see price get back above here and this to start flattening out and start to turn back up. You want the bulls to provide the proof that they are there versus you try to prove to the market that you are correct. Okay, so that is SPY on the 15-minute. If we take a look at the conditions of the market, we have a gamma flip line. It's kind of right around that 6,300, but as I updated it just now, it's about 6,280. So we are currently above it. Right here, I would consider we're basically at it. So you can see selling into selling. You can see buying into buying. This is where volatility typically increases, which we saw these last couple of days. Saw the spike up, and then even today it was up slightly as well. And you could see here from a VWAP perspective, from the high, the August low, you can see them all intertwined here. So price action's kind of tightening up here. We're at that gamma flip line. So this is really where you can see some critical moves happen in the market. If you're bullish, you do want to get back above and hold above 6,300. If you're bearish, well, you'd want to see these levels cracked and then just continued sell side action from that point. If we take a look at the net gamma exposure, we have 6,500 for the call wall, and then 6,200 is the current put wall, which is about $100 below us, right in and around that area. On the SPX, 63.71 is the upper weekly implied move. 61.04 is the lower weekly implied move. Today's tape was pretty much started high, and then we kind of just went lower throughout the day. And, you know, if you watch market net flow, that was a big help on today's session. You can see that the red line was growing up, green line was going down, and this really forced the flow of the market to go down. And then we kind of flattened out, price action doodled around at that lower gamma range where we had pockets of market moving with that market net flow. So overall, it was just a bearish flow type of day. Let's go ahead now and take a look at some of the MAG7 stocks. We'll start off here with Apple. I'm going to do the 15-minute time frame just to give you a sense of where they stand within their weekly implied moves. I'm not going to read off all the weekly implied moves. Just pay attention to the direction of the 5-day moving average and where we stand within the week to date. And if you want the implied moves for the week, they are going to be here on the screen. We'll start with Apple. As you can see, we reported earnings. There has been no tag, and we are seeing a series of lower highs. So you want to see the market prove itself here on Apple as we're still below that declining 5-day moving average. Microsoft did tag into the upper weekly implied move. You can see the week started here, and now we're back into the inclining 5-day moving average, and we're still positive on the week there for Microsoft. For Google, pull up that. We did get through the weekly implied move, and we kind of came back within it. The 5-day moving average is flat as we're kind of just consolidating right now in Google. Amazon, we have a wide open weekly risk range. We did obviously gap down from earnings, and now we're looking at about 221.80 to the upside, 206 to the downside, and so far price action has just been kind of flat. So if you are bullish, you would want to hold the week to date volume weighted average price. If you're bearish, you'd want to see a potential move through that week to date volume weighted average price to fill this gap, and then obviously that would be a lower highs and lower lows with that break. So that would be the trend that you would look for continuance until that changes. If we take a look at Tesla, Tesla is butting up to its declining 5-day moving average. We have a series of lower highs and some higher lows. So price action is coiling up, and we have yet to tag this wide open range of risk. We are slightly up on the week. So if you are bullish, you want to get through about, I'd say about 612 and some change. You can get back above there. 5-day moving average starts to flatten out, and maybe that opens the door back up to 321. Actually, from a daily basis, if we look at Tesla, you can see that on a larger time frame, the price action is still coiling up quite a bit here. As you can see on a longer, more fractal view, you have these lower highs and higher lows building. So we're kind of within this larger compression pattern here with Tesla as well. If we take a look at NVIDIA, NVIDIA is above its rising 5-day moving average. We're at the week-to-date VWAP, and we have yet to tag its weekly implied move. As it stands right now, we do have a series of higher lows, lower highs, so price action is getting coiled up, meaning that we're probably going to get some type of move here very shortly this week. Remember, markets move between expansion and then contraction, and right now we are in a period of contraction with NVIDIA. And then I'll stop off with Meta really quick, and you can see Meta did close at the lows of the trading session today. You know, we came into the weekly implied move, kind of formed some sort of a bear flag back into the week to date, and we kind of pressed off from that. As it stands overall, we had a big earnings move, and price is kind of within this chop box of a range, and I would just kind of watch this range. Maybe we come down to the lower range here, maybe it bounces up, maybe it consolidates where it opens the door for higher price action. But as it stands right now, you'd want to reclaim the week to date, and then also just be aware that the upside target is typically right around the weekly implied move, unless they're very wrong, and we did already come into that area. Let's now go ahead and hop into some of the stocks that are setting up on my watch list. Now, if you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe. And if you want to come check out this tight list updated every week, please just click the link in the pinned comment or in the description for my Patreon or my Discord. You sign up through Patreon. It's $9 a month, which the prices are going to be increasing. I just haven't set that up yet. So it's going to go from I don't have the exact price yet, but it's going to be more than $9 a month for how much data that I actually provide, and then the new developments or the bots that I'm working on, the updates to it. I give my updated watch list, my tight list every week. So these are some of the names from the tight list, and I give some trade ideas and so forth. It's not an alert service, so don't come in thinking that it's going to be me alerting you entries, exits. It doesn't make anybody a better trader. So you gotta do that part yourself. So I'm gonna start here with Rocket Lab, RKLB. I really like this consolidation. I just want to make people aware that we do have earnings. Now, I also like that we saw this run up take place on some nice little pockets of volume, and this consolidation is taking place on lighter volume. So I really like the look of this overall. You know, it's just unfortunate that earnings is right around the corner, but perhaps if we break through the high, maybe we get a little pop higher before earnings, and you know, that way maybe you can hold some risk into earnings if that were the case. But these type of price actions, right, if we get a full measured move of this bull flag, it'd probably be up north of 65 to 70, but I would say keep an eye on this high to be retaken if all goes well there on a breakout, and obviously earnings is market responds well to earnings. There's a couple in here that are kind of on my watch list. I really like the Rocket Lab one, and MedP had earnings already, and now we're just consolidating this. So these type of setups I like. You get a big bullish earnings move, you get a consolidation, and then you look to see if we can retake the high at about 500. And then if we do breakout, you'd want to stop wherever that low was. AMX, this one is an ADR, which stands for American Depository Receipt. You can see that we're just kind of flagging right over here. It's not really high up on the list. NCS, sorry, is also a nice consolidation after earnings, flagging. Remember, I look for names that are strong, right? Strong stocks typically get stronger. And then after earnings, if we're getting some nice consolidations, perhaps this opens the door to 290, 300. IONS, this one did have earnings already, and we're just kind of consolidating here sideways. Earnings came, and we're just flagging out here. So maybe a couple more days, see what this does. But, you know, a retake of these highs could very well happen. SHEL, another ADR, also consolidating here at this prior pivot. Earnings are out of the way. This could be, it's not high on my radar, but hey, if we can break through this pivot, maybe we can get a nice expansion to the upside. ASTS, this has been a high flyer from 25 to, up 100%, but we did have a nice consolidation and follow through, and we're having another consolidation right now. Today we had almost an inside trading day. I think it broke the high just a little bit. So maybe if we can get through this, that would put our stop here. And if we can get an expansionary move to the upside, that's talking a pretty good risk to reward in a ticker like ASTS. U is another one that's been kind of just going sideways for the year, but we are putting in a series of these higher lows. So price action, as you can see, we're moving into this upper pivot level. Price action's getting tighter and tighter. I do like this because the expansionary move can bring a nice move to the upside. Just be aware we have earnings legitimately right around the corner. That is 8/6, which is tomorrow. I don't know if that's before or after. So you want to watch this on the radar, kind of see how it responds to earnings, and then we could kind of go from there. Coin has had earnings, and it was very, very bearish reaction. But what I want to call out here on Coin is that, it had fall from grace 444 down 31% in a very short period of time. But if you apply an anchor volume weighted average price to the low on a year-to-date basis, price action is actually coming right into and around that level. So it's just a level of interest. I don't necessarily like buying the exact dip unless if it's a very small starter position, but I want to see what price does in and around this area, because if it does want to hold and bounce from this level, you might be able to get a $10, $20 bounce very quickly in the price per share there in Coin. IREN, IREN, had an inside trading day today, and this one also is one of those high flyer names. It had a big reversal blow off move here, and what I'm looking at right now is that you saw some strength, and now we have an inside trading day. So maybe perhaps if we break through this opens the door to see some follow through in a name like IREN. I'm going to go ahead and remove this VWAP from my screen, and we'll continue on to CoreWeave. This is also one of those more popular type trading names. You had a nice consolidation here on the IPO. I think that was the IPO. And then we saw a huge breakout. And now price has been kind of just following this trend lower. We did see some nice volume this day and then just prior, today's trading session and then a day prior. And then on this run up, you saw good volume too. So we've been really just kind of a fall from grace here too, 187, and then, as low as 46% of a haircut. And sometimes when you look like fib retracements, 50% to 61.8, right? Let's consider that golden zone, and we're roughly right in around in that area. So if we can break this trend, perhaps that opens the door for a pop higher. Just be aware that you do have earnings with CoreWeave right around the corner. And then we have AVAV. Earnings, got some time on earnings here, but you do have a series of higher lows. And then this earnings right here, you saw a nice big pop-up consolidation, and now price action is getting pretty tight. So you have this compression pattern after earnings. And these ones I like to look for follow through. It looks like 300 could be a potential tag. If we get a breakout, you can have a clear stop, target of 300, and potentially even higher, right? Strong talks typically get stronger, but last time we're up in and around 300, we did run into some supply. So that would be the level that I am watching. That's all I got for you on today's episode. I hope it helps you out and gives you some insight. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel and hit that thumbs up. See you later.